Colleagues, if you could please begin to take your seats. We're going to start here momentarily, and we do have a very busy day. So if you could please begin to take your seats, and we're going to start here very, very shortly. Thank you. Good morning. If you could please take your seats. Good morning. If you could please take your seats. We are about to begin. I call the meeting of the General Committee on Political Affairs and Security to order. Colleagues, you'll see that this agenda has been distributed. The agenda for this meeting has been distributed. Can I please invite you to adopt the agenda? Are there any objections? If none, the agenda is adopted. May I remind colleagues that the election of committee officers will take place during the committee's final session, which is likely to take place tomorrow, Tuesday, July the 9th. Tuesday, the 7th of July at 9 a.m. As agreed, nominations for candidates for election should be handed to the table office by 6 p.m. today. Those should be handed to the table office by 6 p.m. today. As agreed yesterday, again, they should be handed in by 6 p.m. today. In this second meeting, we will start by hearing from the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands, Tom Berendsen. We will then continue our debate, which started during yesterday's meeting. After that, we will move on to consideration of amendments to draft the resolution from Rapporteur, Mr. Tobias Winkler. And with that, dear colleagues, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Tom Berendsen, who is the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands, to address the committee. Mr. Berendsen.
Good morning, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, more than 50 years ago, when the CSCE concluded the Helsinki Final Act, US President Gerald Ford urged its members to always keep in mind that history is made, and I quote, not by what we say today, but by what we do tomorrow. Not by the promises we make, but by the promises we keep. Guided by these words, the OSCE has long embodied a simple but powerful idea. Real security is not only about military strength or borders, it's about trust, respect for human rights, and opportunities for our citizens. For decades, the Helsinki principles guided us through the Cold War and the transitions that followed. They helped manage tensions and strengthen security and stability across our region. Yet today we face a more complex and contested security environment. Across the OSCE region, we see growing geopolitical tensions. We see democratic backsliding, shrinking civic space, hybrid threats such as cyber attacks, disinformation, and interference in our democratic processes. At the same time, trust between states is low. Many of the arms control and confidence-building arrangements that once helped to limit risks and increase predictability are eroding, or no longer functioning as intended. And this makes the OSCE's role even more important. Few organizations have a toolbox like OSCE's, from conflict prevention and election observation to support for the rule of law and media freedom. In every part of our region, the OSCE adds value by providing a forum for open discussion of difficult issues, by deploying missions to prevent tensions from escalating, and by supporting parliaments and civil society in building resilient, democratic institutions. Time and again, the OSCE has shown that dialogue, transparency, and cooperation are not signs of weakness. They are our strongest assets in protecting peace and stability. This gives all of us a clear responsibility to safeguard what the OSCE stands for and to support its work in practice. Now, Russia's war against Ukraine is the clearest example of how the foundations of our common security are being violated in the OSCE region. That is why Ukraine needs and deserves our unwavering support. We must show that aggression does not pay, that borders cannot be changed by force, and that our OSCE commitments still matter. You, as parliamentarians, play a crucial role in this regard. You can step up sanctions, close loopholes, and stop the flow of battlefield and dual-use goods to Russia. You can help tackle the shadow fleet, which threatens both our security and our marine environment. Parliamentary diplomacy matters. Your leadership matters. Now, one of the darkest aspects of this war is the fate of thousands of abducted Ukrainian children, illegally deported or forcibly transferred to Russia or to occupied Ukrainian territories. Many of them remain unaccounted for. Together with Ukraine, the Council of Europe and the International Criminal Court, we must document these crimes, reunite children with their families, and hold those responsible accountable. Through its Moscow mechanism and support program for Ukraine, the OSCE plays a key role in these efforts, both in seeking justice and in helping those affected by the war rebuild their lives. The Netherlands will continue to support that work through our leadership on restoring justice for Ukraine. There must be no impunity. I would also like to take this opportunity to repeat my call for the immediate release of the 3 OSCE officials unjustly detained by Russia. Their detention is unlawful and must end. Colleagues, there are still many challenges ahead, but we are not powerless or without tools. Through its election observation, the OSCE provides concrete support for stability and democratic resilience across our region. In the Western Balkans, OSCE field missions work every day on minority rights, democratic institutions and reconciliation in a region still marked by political tensions. In the South Caucasus, Armenia and Azerbaijan have shown that progress is possible. Their peace efforts demonstrate what political courage can achieve. At the same time, the Moscow mechanism's findings on Georgia remind us of the risks of democratic backsliding and the need to protect our shared values. These examples show that the OSCE is not some abstract framework, but a practical instrument for preventing crisis, supporting reforms and building trust on the ground. As parliamentarians, you are the guardians of our shared values. You shape laws. You hold governments to account for their OSCE commitments. And you represent the citizens who have placed their trust in you. So I ask you to continue defending the OSCE framework on which our collective security depends, including through active parliamentary diplomacy. Support Ukraine. Support accountability, support the OSCE, its autonomous institutions and its field operations, and protect democratic institutions, free media and civil society. Ladies and gentlemen, President Ford urged us to live up to our commitments. For you, as parliamentarians, those commitments are not only judged by the words you speak, but by the votes you cast and the budgets and laws you approve. The Netherlands stands ready to work with all of you to strengthen our shared security and to ensure that freedom, law and human dignity prevail across the OSCE region. Let history remember this assembly as one that chose to keep its promises. Thank you very much and I wish you very fruitful discussions here in the Netherlands. Thank you.
On behalf of the committee, Mr. Berenson, thank you very much. We appreciate your remarks. We will now continue our debate, which started yesterday. The time limit for speeches is 4 minutes. The time limit for speeches is 4 minutes. I call the first speaker, Mr. Toden from Germany. After which I will call Mr. Taco Van Porta from Canada. Mr. Toten, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, as members of the Parliamentary Assembly, we share a common understanding of security, one that rightly encompasses far more than just military aspects. Yet if the conflict-ridden developments of recent years have demonstrated anything, it is that there has been a massive erosion of the rules-based international order. The General Rapporteur's report so accurately confirms this, offering a concise assessment of the situation, and I therefore like to thank Mr. Winkler for his excellent report. Russia's murderous war of aggression against Ukraine and its people continues unabated, and therefore it is necessary for us to stand firmly at the side of the Ukrainian people in support of their fight against Russian aggression. With the demise of New START, the framework of nuclear arms controls treaties has been completely dismantled. Israel's wars in Gaza and Lebanon are trampling international humanitarian law underfoot, and let me say this, I'm extremely disappointed that the Standing Committee 2 days ago has vetoed a supplementary item that would have given us the opportunity to discuss this further. A war of aggression by the United States and Israel against Iran in violation of international law threatens to plunge the global economy into the abyss, as well as destabilize the entire Gulf region. We are witnessing the return of an aggressive 19th century style imperialism characterizing by defining and claiming spheres or hemispheres of influence. And let me be also clear on this, claiming spheres of influence is a gesture of domination, and this has no place amongst friends and allies. Just in time for the 250th anniversary of American independence, US President Donald Trump is once more reaching for the Arctic, still seeking to annex Greenland from Denmark. I'm therefore extremely grateful to the General Rapporteur for highlighting the importance of key norms of international law for rules-based order in the Arctic and the High North. As OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, we stand united and resolute in upholding the territorial integrity and sovereignty of our OSCE partner, Denmark, against any aggression. Greenland is not for sale, nor shall it be bullied into submission. And also let me say this, a bully may be feared, but it will never be respected and certainly never be loved. Doing this is also in clear violation of the Helsinki principles, and sowing destability in the Arctic region only serves the goals of Mr. Putin, and this cannot be what all of us here want. It is all the more important then that the OSCE regains and maintains its capacity to act. The adoption of the 2026 budget marks a crucial milestone in this regard. The loss of the OSCE's operational capabilities and its executive structures has thus been averted for the time being. However, as members of the Parliamentary Assembly, we must continue to act as advocates for the OSCE in our national parliaments. There can be no double standards in international law. Let us uphold the spirit of Helsinki, and let us add to that spirit the spirit of The Hague, which is peace and justice. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is going to be Mr. Taco Van Pata from Canada, followed by Mr. Ducarme from Belgium.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable colleagues, I would like to thank our rapporteur, Mr. Tobias Winkler of Germany, for this important report and draft resolutions. I share the rapporteur's deep concern that Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine constitutes a flagrant violation of the principles found in the Helsinki Act, notably the inviolability of frontiers and the territorial integrity of states. However, Russia's violations of the Helsinki principles extend beyond its current war in Ukraine. In 2023, the House of Commons Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security in the Canadian Parliament released a report on strengthening Canada's security position in relations to Russia, and I was proud to have served on that committee and to be part of that report. The report describes Russia's pattern of behavior over the past decades, which includes hybrid campaigns aimed at countries around the world, and in particular, the report focused on malicious cyber activity, disinformation, and threats to critical infrastructure. Russia's attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure is a clear example. But I'm also concerned about threats to critical undersea infrastructure, especially in the Baltic area. As a representative of Parliament of an Arctic nation, I appreciate the focus on security in the Arctic and the High North. As the draft resolution states, it is indeed essential that states, both Arctic and non-Arctic, work together to ensure that the Arctic remains a zone of peaceful cooperation. It is imperative that Russia immediately cease its war of aggression against Ukraine and its hybrid attacks against other OSCE members. And as the draft resolution proposes, we must urgently strengthen our sanctions regime against the Russian Federation to reduce its capacity to continue with this war. I would also add, Mr. Chair, that Canada stands ready, willing, and able to help our fellow OSCE members cut their dependence on Russian oil and gas. We have a lot of it. It is clean, it is ethical, and it is reliable. And I can tell you that it is available to the highest bidder. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The next speaker that you will hear from will be Mr. Ducarme from Belgium, followed by Mr. Gulzoda from Tajikistan.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Merci, cher collègue Winkler, pour cette belle résolution que nous serons nombreux à soutenir et je veux vous dire pourquoi. D'une part, je veux souligner l'importance des articles 7, 8 et 9 de votre résolution qui engage l'OSCE aux côtés des civils ukrainiens, parce qu'en effet, délibérément, la Russie, dont les alliés biélorusses continuent à siéger tranquillement à nos côtés, la Russie aujourd'hui ne s'en prend pas seulement à un État souverain, n'en se prend pas seulement à une armée, elle vise un peuple, ses femmes et ses enfants. Votre texte de résolution le souligne, c'est important. Aussi, je veux souligner l'article 2 de votre proposition de résolution. Notre collègue ukrainien Potouraïev s'en est fait l'écho. Nous rappelons combien le principe de réalité qui veut voir le respect des frontières et l'intégrité territoriale souveraine de l'Ukraine rencontrée. Sans ces éléments-là, il n'y aura en effet pas de paix durable. Et, Monsieur le Président, je veux me lever pour commenter l'article 10 de votre proposition de résolution, Monsieur Winkler, parce que vous n'avez pas oublié Chabanov, Golda, Petrov. Vous ne les avez pas oubliés, les fonctionnaires de l'OSCE qui sont emprisonnés maintenant depuis 4 ans en Russie. Et si je me mets debout, c'est parce que j'estime que l'OSCE doit davantage se lever pour protéger les siens et être davantage sonore. Nous devons être davantage mobilisés aux côtés des familles, aux côtés de votre action pour que les fonctionnaires de l'OSCE soient libérés. Ce que j'ai apprécié également, Monsieur Winkler, dans le cadre de votre proposition de résolution, c'est qu'elle résonne comme un écho au discours que nous a livré Ignacio Cassis, un discours aux accents existentiels, un discours fort sur l'histoire, mais également sur l'avenir de l'OSCE, une OSCE que nous sommes nombreux à vouloir plus consistante, plus en pointe, plus déterminée, et votre texte, Monsieur Winkler, est de ces textes qui peuvent rendre encore fiers de faire partie de cette Assemblée parlementaire. Je vous remercie.
The next speaker you will hear from will be Mr. Guzoda from Kazakhstan and Mr. Chelik from Turkey.
Огромное спасибо, господин председатель, уважаемые коллеги. Республика Таджикистан последовательно выступает за урегулирование всех споров и конфликтов исключительно политико-дипломатическими средствами в строгом соответствии с нормами и принципами международного права и уставом Организации Объединенных Наций. Мы убеждены, что только конструктивный диалог, взаимное уважение и многостороннее сотрудничество способны обеспечить прочный и устойчивый мир. Именно этой цели служат инициативам президента Республики Таджикистан, уважаемого Эмали Рахмона, по провозглашению Международного десятилетия укрепления мира для будущих поколений 2007-2036 года. Единогласно поддержанная Генеральной Ассамблеей Организации Объединенных Наций, рассматриваем ее как важный вклад в продвижение культуры, мира, укрепление доверия и развития международного сотрудничества. Уважаемые коллеги, исходя из этой принципиальной позиции, Таджикистан выступает за мирное урегулирование ситуации в Ближнем Востоке исключительно посредством переговоров и дипломатии. Мы приветствуем достигнутые договоренности между Исламской Республикой Иран и Соединенными Штатами Америки при посредничестве Исламской Республики Пакистан и государства Катар и рассчитываем, что они будут способствовать снижению напряженности, укреплению доверия и созданию условий для долгосрочного мира и стабильности в регионе. Не менее важным направлением остается содействие обеспечению мира, безопасности и устойчивого развития в соседнем Афганистане. Таджикистан, имеющий самую протяжную границу с Афганистаном, среди государств Центральной Азии, около 1400 километров, непосредственно ощущает влияние происходящих в этой стране процессов. Это определяет нашу особую заинтересованность в достижении устойчивого мира, безопасности и социально-экономического восстановления Афганистана. Мы последовательно поддерживаем оказание гуманитарной помощи афганскому народу, содействуем международным гуманитарным операциям, предоставляем свои территории для доставки международной помощи и активным взаимодействием с международными организациями в вопросах поддержки населения и беженцев. Опыт Таджикистана убедительно показывает, что даже самые сложные внутренние конфликты могут быть преодолены путем переговоров, взаимных компромиссов и национального примирия. Именно поэтому мы неизменно выступаем за политико-дипломатическое урегулирование всех современных конфликтов, включая конфликт в Украине, на основе международного права, Устава Организации Объединенных Наций и общепризнанных принципов межгосударственных отношений. Убеждены, что формирование более справедливого и безопасного миропорядка возможно только при условии отказа от применения силы, укрепления взаимного доверия и расширения многостороннего сотрудничества. Благодарю за внимание.
Thank you. Our next speaker is going to be Mr. Çelik from Turkey, and our final speaker will be Mr. Lecomte from France.
Sayın Başkan, Türkçe konuşacağım. Başta Agit bölgesi olmak üzere dünyanın güvenliği, insanlığın huzuru ve barış ortamının sağlanması asli görevimizdir. Ancak bugün başta Filistin ve Ukrayna olmak üzere dünyanın belli bölgelerinde çatışmalar, katliamlar ve soykırımlar devam ediyor. Maalesef Birleşmiş Milletler başta olmak üzere dünya bu dramı seyrediyor. Birleşmiş Milletler Güvenlik Konseyi'nin 5 daimi üyesi ateşkes ve barış önerisini bile veto edebiliyor. Ateşkes önerisini reddetmek birbirinizi öldürmeye devam edin demektir. Silah sanayinin en güçlü olduğu bu 5 daimi üye silah üretiyor, barış ve ateşkes önerisini reddedebiliyor. O zaman barış nasıl sağlanacak, çatışmalar nasıl bitecek? Ukrayna'da, Gazze'de saldırılar ve katliamlar nasıl bitecek? Türkiye olarak biz, Cumhurbaşkanımız Recep Tayyip Erdoğan'ın ifade ettikleri gibi dünya 5'ten büyüktür demeye devam edeceğiz. Çünkü barışa giden yol silahsızlanmadan geçmektedir. Sayın Başkan, AGİTBA olarak biz güvenlik, adalet ve barışa giden adımları atmakta yeteri kadar kararlı mıyız? Avrupa'nın güvenliğinin sadece Ukrayna'nın güvenliğinden ibaret olduğu yanılgısından vazgeçmeliyiz. Avrupa'nın güvenliğinin Filistin'den, Gazze'den geçtiği gerçeğini çok iyi kavramalıyız. Filistinli çocuklar katledilirken, hapse atılırken güvenli bir Avrupa'yı nasıl inşa edeceğiz? Barışın ve adaletin başkenti olan Lahey'de Filistin karar tasarısını görüşmeyi reddetmek adil bir durum mudur? Bu bir çifte standart değil mi? Açlık, katliam ve soykırım eylemleri nedeniyle Lahey Adalet Divanı'nda yargılanan katliamcı Netanyahu, Lahey'deki bu toplantıda niye koruma çabası içerisindeyiz? Lütfen gerçeklerden kaçmayalım. Avrupa'nın güvenliği adil olmaktan, çifte standart uygulamaktan geçtiğini unutmayalım. Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you. The next speaker is going to be Mr. Lecomte from France, and followed by Mr. Dunava from Romania. Monsieur Lecomte, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais saisir l'opportunité de cette prise de parole qui m'est donnée pour faire le lien entre tout ce qui vient d'être dit depuis ce matin par les collègues parlementaires sur la désinformation, d'une manière générale, et l'attaque systématique des médias par le pouvoir russe, pour vous inviter au side event en anglais Investigating Russia's Crime Against Media in Ukraine, Call for Justice, qui se tiendra tout à l'heure à 12h30 dans la salle Yon C1, en présence de la veuve d'un journaliste français et du collègue d'un autre journaliste, tous les deux assassinés par des balles délibérément ciblées sur eux. 2 crimes organisés de journalistes, tout simplement. Cet événement est co-organisé par les délégations ukrainiennes et françaises de l'APOSCE. Merci par avance à tous pour votre présence nombreuse à 12h30, salle C1. Je vous remercie.
Our next and final speaker will be Mr. Dunava from Romania. Mr. Dunava.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, esteemed colleagues. Our security order is currently facing exceptional pressure. Our fundamental principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the peaceful resolution of disputes are being blatantly challenged by military aggression, hybrid interference, and economic coercion. Russia's illegal and unprovoked war against Ukraine remains the gravest threat to international security. Even amidst the complex instability in the Middle East, we must remain resolutely focused on Ukraine. How this war ends will decisively shape the future of the European security architecture. A lasting peace can never be built on territorial conquest. Therefore, Romania will continue its unwavering support for Ukraine. We must tackle sanctions, evasion, particularly the opaque shadow fleets, and shape robust security guarantees through indispensable transatlantic cooperation. Dear colleagues, as a closing statement, I would like to underline that the fundamental principles of the OSCE and the commitments undertaken by the participating states must be consistently applied, given their essential role in pursuing the goals of peace and security. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate everyone's comments and everyone adhering to speaking for 4 minutes. We are now about to move to another part of the committee meeting today. We will now move to consider amendments submitted to the draft resolution. 19 valid amendments have been tabled, and copy of the amendments have been made available and also can be accessed through the OSCE PA app. I also want to remind everyone that in discussing amendments, I will call the proposer of the amendment first, and then will call any opponent of the amendment. I will then ask the sponsor of the draft resolution, Mr. Winkler, if he has not already spoken, for his opinion. Following that, I shall put the amendment to the vote. I ask speakers to observe a time limit of 1 minute. I ask speakers to observe a time limit of 1 minute. We are also required to vote on every paragraph to which there are no amendments. To save time and to avoid many votes on items that have broad support, I hope you agree that if no amendment has been tabled to a paragraph, and if nobody requests a vote on an amendment, on a paragraph, that we can consider it adopted. Anytime a specific vote is requested, of course, we will do so. Are there any objections? If there are none, the proposal is adopted. We will take paragraphs 1 to 17 together. Does anyone want to vote on any of these paragraphs? If nobody wants a vote, if no one is requesting a vote, paragraph 1 through 17 are agreed. Now we're moving on to amendment number 1. For amendment number 1, I call Mr. Burkhardt from Switzerland to propose amendment 1 to paragraph 18.
Mr. Chair, dear colleagues, this amendment aims to propose a more balanced and legally coherent wording of the paragraph concerning Georgia, while explicitly reaffirming the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Georgia within its internationally recognized borders. It adopts wording that is more firmly rooted in international law, while more precisely defining the nature of violations identified. I therefore kindly invite you to support this amendment.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 1? Yes, I recognize the member from Georgia.
Thank you. We would like to keep the original version of the paragraph.
Okay. What is Mr. Winkler's opinion of the amendment?
Yeah, dear Mr. Chair, dear colleagues, I see some improvements in the Swiss amendment. Nevertheless, explicitly in my report, the Russian Federation as occupier of Abkhazia and Chinkovali region and Ossetia is meant, and with a new version, this would be dropped out. So to mention Russia as occupator in this conflict, I would appreciate, and therefore I don't recommend to follow this amendment.
I will now put amendment number 1 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those, we're going to take a count here. Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Amendment number 1 is defeated. Amendment number 1 is defeated. We will now vote on the inclusion of the original text of paragraph 18. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? In favor of this paragraph. There's an overwhelming majority. The amendment is agreed to. We will now consider paragraph number 19. If nobody wants to vote, does anyone want to vote on this paragraph? If no, request for a vote, paragraph 19 is agreed. Amendment number 2. I call Mr. Altanak from Turkey to propose Amendment 2 to paragraph 20.
Sayın Başkan, değerli meslektaşlarım, bu değişiklik önergesiyle Orta Doğu'daki gelişmelere ilişkin paragrafın daha dengeli ve insani boyutu güçlü bir şekilde yansıtan bir hale getirilmesini amaçlıyoruz. Mevcut kriz ortamında uluslararası hukuka saygı, sivillerin korunması ve insana erişimin sağlanması hepimiz için öncelikli olmalıdır. Diğer yandan silahlı devlet dışı aktörler terimi üzerinde ortak bir tanım ve uzlaşı bulunmaması nedeniyle bu ifadenin çıkarılması gerektiğini değerlendiriyoruz. Bu nedenle desteğinizi rica ediyorum. Teşekkür ederim.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment number 2? Mr. Winkler, his opinion of the amendment?
Thank you very much for this amendment, and I can fully understand why this humanitarian approach is mentioned here. I would have liked to have it in the third committee, not in ours, but it's a comprehensive security approach with the formulation and armed non-state actors. It's a broader approach so I more or less fully support the last sentence, but I would like to have included the armed non-state actors, because terrorist organization is limited to definition and also to the acknowledgement of several countries. And we know there are actors which harm security and peace in this region, which are not or not yet recognized as terrorist organizations, and I wanted to mention them as well. Therefore, I reject this amendment, but I fully understand why this second part, which I would have liked to have 2 amendments on that, why it is mentioned. But I reject.
Thank you, Mr. Winkler. I shall now put Amendment 2 to a vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards?
Point of order, is it possible?
Yes, I recognize you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I was wondering whether is it possible to actually have now actual amendment and put it in 2 different amendments, because I understand what Mr. Rapporteur says. That would be, I think, helpful. Is it possible?
I appreciate your question. We are going to consult on that and suspend the meeting for approximately 1 minute. So please stand by for 1 minute. Ladies and gentlemen, we have consulted and we are going to consider this amendment as it is. And I shall now put amendment number 2 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards?
We got 6 on my side.
One. Against?
Okay. Will all those against please raise their voting cards?
We got 7 on my side. And 7 on my side. Including
abstentions? Are there any abstentions?
Are there any abstentions? Are there any abstentions? One abstention.
So the amendment is defeated.
Okay. Amendment number 2 is defeated. Amendment number 2 is defeated.
Do you have the text of the oral amendment?
Okay, an oral amendment has been proposed in accordance with paragraph 10 of Rule 22 of our Rules of Procedure. First, I will ask whether there is any objection to the oral argument, or to the oral amendment being considered. If there is any objection, oral amendments cannot be considered, and it fails. If there is no objection, we will proceed to consider the amendment in the same way as the other amendments. That is, we will hear from the proposer of the oral amendment, one speaker against the oral amendment, and the opinion of the rapporteur. We will then decide by a simple majority vote whether to adopt the oral amendment. Is there any objection to the oral amendment being considered? I call the proposer to speak to the amendment.
Thank you very much. Actually, I would like to amend the paragraph 20 by adding and stressing that the protection of civilians and unhindered humanitarian access must remain in urgent priorities. Thank you very much.
Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment? If none, what is the rapporteur's opinion of the amendment?
I fully support this amendment, and I thank to the chairman and also to the secretary to find this solution. Thank you, Farah.
I shall now put the amendment to vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Are there any objections?
Are any of those against?
Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Okay, we have taken all the votes and the oral amendment is adopted. We will now vote on paragraph 20 as amended. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Paragraph 20 is agreed to as amended. We are now moving on to paragraph 3, and I call Mr. Burkhardt of Switzerland.
Mr. Chair, dear colleagues, the humanitarian situation in the Middle East is deeply concerning. The concerns expressed by our rapporteur in the draft resolution are therefore entirely justified. As serious as the humanitarian situation in the Middle East may be, it does not formally fall within the OSCE's mandate. However, it has significant repercussions for the OSCE region. I therefore welcome the substantive link that our rapporteur establishes in paragraph 21 between the situation in the Middle East and its impact on the OSCE. The proposed recording of paragraphs 20 and 21 is intended to highlight this connection without altering the substance of the proposed text. I therefore urge you to support this amendment, which strengthens the coherence of the resolutions.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 3? Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment number 3? I will now ask Herr Winkler to, what is his opinion of the amendment?
I'm happy to support this amendment.
I shall now put Amendment number 3 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Okay. Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Okay. Amendment 3 is adopted, and paragraph 20 as amended is accordingly agreed to. We will now consider paragraph 21. Does anyone want to vote on this paragraph? If nobody wants to vote, with no request for a vote, then paragraph 21 is agreed to. We now move on to amendment number 4, and I call Mr. Turan from Turkey to propose amendment 4 to paragraph 22.
Sayın Başkan, değerli meslektaşlarım, bu değişiklik önerisini daha kapsayıcı ve mevcut durumu yansıtan hale getirebilmek amacıyla Orta Doğu'da kalıcı istikrarın sağlanması için diplomasi ve diyaloğun yanında Gazze'de derhal ve kalıcı ateşkes, engelsiz insani erişim ve sivillerin korunması ihtiyacını özellikle vurgulamak istiyoruz. Ayrıca rehineler ve tutuklular meselesinin uluslararası hukuk çerçevesinde ele alınması ve iki devletli çözüm temelinde adil ve kalıcı bir barış perspektifinin korunması gerektiğine inanıyoruz. Bu nedenle desteğinizi rica ediyorum. Teşekkür ederim.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 4? What is Mr. Winkler's opinion of the amendment?
I propose to reject this amendment. Like the Swiss colleague right now said, it's out of the OSCE region. Nevertheless, it has to be mentioned, the dimension of this situation there. By the way, the last release of hostages, which is in here, the last release has been taken place in January, so this is obsolete. And I think the situation in the Middle East is fully covered by the text as it is. So therefore I reject this, or I propose to reject this amendment. Thank you very much.
I shall now put Amendment 4 to vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Amendment 4 is adopted. I'm sorry, Amendment 4 is defeated. We are now moving on to paragraph 22. We will vote on paragraph 22 as amended. No? We will now vote on paragraph number 22. We will now vote on paragraph number 22. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Okay. Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? I got one. Paragraph 22 is agreed to. We're now moving on to Amendment 5. I call Ms. Hetty Fry from Canada to propose Amendment 5 to insert a new paragraph after 22. Ms. Fry from Canada.
Thank you, Chair. This is pretty much of what I would like to call a motherhood issue. As a gender representative, I am bound to ensure that gender is cross-cutting across all of the three dimensions of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. So in Bucharest and in Vancouver, we actually had a resolution similar to that in their declarations. And so I'm just asking us to be consistent and to add it this time, because since 2024, the United Nations has registered increasing brutal violence against women and girls in conflict zones in the region. Thank you very much. I hope you can support this.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment number 5? Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment number 5? I will now ask Herr Winkler's opinion of the amendment.
Dear Hedi, thank you very much for this amendment. I'm quite sure that it also is reflected in the third committee where it belongs to, and weaponization of sexual violence cannot be condemned enough. So your wish is to include it also in the first committee. I don't reject it. I support this amendment, therefore.
Thank you. I shall now put amendment number 5 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those against the amendment please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Amendment number 5 is adopted. We will now move on to amendment number 6. And at this time, I would like to call Mr. Tasser Perlin from Slovenia to propose amendment number 6 to paragraph 23. Mr. Perlin, Ms. Perlin, excuse me.
Thank you, Chair Visi, for the floor. I propose an amendment to paragraph 23 as well as 44, which will be following, which have the same content. So when we are talking about possible interference in election processes, I wanted to add the word emphasizing the role of foreign intelligence services and related actors, because it sadly reflects the reality in some of our countries due to events in the past years, either confirmed interference or serious attempts to influence or suspicion to influence elections, one happening also in my country recently. Elections are a fundamental process in the function of any democracy, and we must do everything to ensure that our citizens have the opportunity to make an informed but independent and sovereign choice when they're at the polls. So thank you to all the countries that send their signatures of support, and I urge the committee to support the amendments.
Does anyone wish to speak against amendment number 6? Does anyone wish to speak against amendment 6? Herr Winkler, your opinion of the amendment.
Dear Tasha, thank you very much for this amendment. And unfortunately, with this new formulation, now you narrow it a little bit, because there is attempts to manipulate elections which is not foreign intelligence services related, and this would be included without your amendment. I want to have a broader approach. Of course, there is intelligence service who manipulate elections, but there are also others, and I wanted to have all of them. So therefore, I propose to reject this amendment to keep it in a broader way.
Thank you, sir. With that, I shall now put amendment 6 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Are there any abstentions? Amendment number 6 is defeated. Amendment number 6 is defeated. We will now vote on paragraph 23. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Paragraph 23 is agreed to. We are now moving on to Amendment 7, and I would like to call Mr. Dunava from Romania to propose Amendment 7 to paragraph number 24. Mr. Dunava.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this amendment is important because the Black Sea region has emerged as a critical frontline for hybrid threats and deliberate disruptions to global supply chains Given the escalating risk to energy security and regional connectivity, particularly regarding offshore energy production facilities, transit routes, and future subsea electricity and communications, interconnectors, the protection of maritime infrastructure in the Black Sea is directly linked to the broader resilience of the Euro-Atlantic community. Anchoring the Black Sea alongside the Baltic Sea in this resolution is vital to establishing a unified, non-fragmented approach to international maritime security and critical infrastructure defense. I hope that Mr. Rapporteur Tobias Winkler will support this amendment. Thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak against amendment number 7? Does anyone wish to speak against amendment number 7? Mr. Winkler, opinion of the amendment.
Dear Costello, thank you very much for this amendment. I think this is a perfect example why it makes us stronger when we work together. You bring in the perspective of the countries who have access to the Black Sea, and I fully support this amendment and I recommend to accept it. Thank you very much.
With that, I shall now put amendment number 7 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting cards? Will those against please raise their voting cards? Will those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Amendment number 7 is adopted. We will now vote on paragraph 24 as amended. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting card? Are there any abstentions? All right. Paragraph 24 is agreed to. Paragraph 25. We will now consider paragraph 25. Does anyone want to vote on this paragraph? If nobody wants to vote, then paragraph 25 is agreed. We will now move on to amendment number 8. I call Mr. Selik from Turkey to propose amendment 8 to paragraph 26. Mr. Selik.
Değerli meslektaşlarım, bu değişiklik önerisiyle silahların kontrolüne ilişkin çerçevelerin zayıfladığı mevcut güvenlik ortamında caydırıcılık ve askeri hazırlık vurgusu yerine işbirliğine dayalı güvenlik düzenlemelerine duyulan güvenin yeniden tesis edilmesinin önemini öne çıkarmayı amaçlıyoruz. AGİT'in temel gücü diyalog, güven arttırıcı önlemler ve ortak güvenlik anlayışıdır. Bu nedenle paragrafın AGİT'in işbirliği ruhunu daha iyi yansıtacak şekilde düzenlenmesi öneriyor ve desteğinizi rica ediyorum. Teşekkür ederim.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 8? Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 8? Mr. Winkler, opinion of the amendment.
So if you like it or not, military preparedness and deterrence is a central element of our future security architecture. Many countries take huge efforts to contribute to this goal, and therefore it should be mentioned in this text. I recommend to reject this. Military deterrence is, unfortunately, in our time, a necessary instrument for the security in the OSCE region.
I shall now put amendment number 8 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting card? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting card? Are there any abstentions? Defeated. Amendment number 8 is defeated. Paragraph 26, we will now vote on paragraph 26. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting cards? Got 12? Will all of those against please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Paragraph 26 is agreed to. Paragraphs 27 to 36. We will now take paragraphs 27 to 36 together. Does anyone want to vote on any of these paragraphs? With a no vote, paragraphs 27 to 36 are agreed to. We are now moving on to amendment number 9. Amendment number 9. I now call Mr. Elsie from the United States of America to propose amendment number 9 to insert a new paragraph after paragraph 36. Mr. Elsie, you are now recognized.
Thank you. Moscow and Pyongyang are deepening their unholy alliance and pooling their resources to threaten the security of our allies in Europe, the United States, and the Indo-Pacific. The estimated 15,000 North Korean troops on Ukrainian soil and millions of North Korean munitions to Russia are fuel for Putin's war machine. This support serves both genocidal dictatorships, prolonging Russia's genocidal war while providing an economic lifeline to North Korea. Russia is shredding the international rules-based order, and we cannot look the other way. We must tighten the economic vice on both regimes, choke off their supply lines, and bolster our support for Ukraine. We must ensure that this desperate cross-continental mission ends in failure for both Putin and Kim Jong-un.
Does anyone wish to speak against amendment number 9? If not, Herr Winkler, opinion of the amendment.
Mr. Elsie, I'm very grateful for this amendment. This brings the light on another sad element of this war, and including it makes the text even stronger. So I recommend to vote in favor.
With that, I shall now put amendment number 9 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Amendment 9 is adopted. Paragraph 37, we're now going to consider paragraph 37. Does anyone want to vote on this paragraph? If there's no request for a vote, paragraph 37 is agreed to. We are now going to move on to amendment number 10, and I call Mr. Dunava from Romania to propose amendment 10 to paragraph 38. Mr. Dunava, you're now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment is meant to highlight international commitment to regional stability and upholding international law, elevating the support to a neighboring standard explicitly guarantees a non-negotiable level of international solidarity with the Republic of Moldova's sovereignty. Regarding the Transnistrian region, this language provides the necessary diplomatic leverage to safeguard the fundamental rights and linguistic identity of the local population. Thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 10? Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 10? What is Herr Winkler's opinion of the amendment?
I fully understand the Romanian perspective on that, and I can recommend to vote in favor for it.
With that, I shall now put Amendment 10 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Amendment 10 is adopted. We will now vote on paragraph 38 as amendment. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? If you are against, please raise your voting cards. Are there any abstentions? Paragraph 38 is agreed to. We're now moving on to paragraphs 39 to 41 together. Does anyone want a vote on any of these paragraphs? If there's no request for a vote, paragraphs 39 to 41 are agreed to. We're now going to move on to amendment number 11. We're now going to move on to amendment number 11. I call Mr. Whitehouse from the United States to propose amendment 11 to insert a new paragraph after paragraph 41. Mr. Whitehouse, you are now recognized.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to all of the colleagues who have made statements regarding the shadow fleet. Russia's shadow fleet is how the Kremlin turns its oil into ammunition. It relies on opaque ownership, unreliable insurance, false flags, deceptive transfers, and fragmented enforcement across jurisdictions. Russia does not need to defeat our sanctions outright to profit from oil sales. It only needs to find the weakest link around them. This amendment asks OSCE states to close those gaps by strengthening and harmonizing national measures against maritime entities that support vessels, entities, or transactions linked to Russia's shadow fleet, sanctions evasion, or circumvention of the oil price cap. Sanctions without enforcement merely add a risk premium. We need them to be a barrier. This is about helping Ukraine, it's about rule of law, and it's about protecting the integrity of the international maritime system from corruption, misuse, and environmental risk. I urge support for the amendment.
Does anyone wish to speak against amendment number 11? Does anyone wish to speak against amendment 11? If not, Mr. Winkler, opinion of the amendment.
Dear Mr. Whitehouse, thank you very much for this amendment, which highlights a very important issue, and I also would appreciate if you give your full support for fighting against the shadow fleet. Therefore, I support this amendment, and I would recommend to vote in favor.
With that, I shall now put amendment 11 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? The amendment number 11 is adopted. Thank you very much. We are nearing the end of our meeting, and so I'm going to close the meeting. And I do want everyone to know that we will continue our consideration of the amendments to the draft resolution and start of our consideration of the supplementary items this afternoon at 4:30 p.m. At 4:30 p.m. Thank you very much. That concludes this morning's meeting.